Yeah, so it's funny, like stereotypical, I guess SMMA. SMMA, for those that don't know what it is, stands for Social Media Marketing Agency. Typical SMMA stories. You heard about SMMA from, whether it's Sam Ovens or Ty Lopez, etc., or Iman Gachi. Iman probably doesn't remember this. He actually messaged me during COVID. He was trying to basically pitch me his product, but I was too broke at the time and I wasn't even making 10K a month at that time. So he basically like stopped responding to me after he realized I couldn't afford his program. I think it was some sort of program that he was launching at the time. But I actually learned about the marketing sphere and the marketing business sphere from a guy called Ty Lopez, right? So I was in the Ty Lopez bucket. And how it happened was when I was 17, in year 12, I was always eccentric as a teenager and as a kid. I was one of those kids that post a lot on Facebook, right? And would get roasted in school, but then would have like that love and hate of people that would be like, oh wow, like this content's like relatable and this content's cringe, like, Dami, whatever. And I loved it. But I was eccentric. So what happened was I started to watch and stumble upon TED Talks. So nearly every Friday when I was in year 12, when I was 17, I would watch TED Talks on Friday. Not because I wanted to necessarily like become an entrepreneur. I just liked the way they thought, right? And I was like, you know what? Like, this is cool. So I started to watch more and more of them. And then it led me, or maybe it gave YouTube enough data to retarget me with Ty Lopez's viral ad, the one that's like, here in my garage. And, I start watching more of his content. I love it. His content's fantastic. I personally think there's people that have mixed opinions on him. I had an interview with him a few weeks ago. It's crazy how things come full circle. That's crazy. I was never planning per se to meet him. But anyway, I see his ad and I end up stumbling on the internet and I find his program. And, I smashed the program and then, yeah, that was off to the races pretty much. I started trying these methods. After 3 months of no success, I ended up getting my first client. I got my second the next month, third month, I lost all of them. And then I sat down and planned. And, 3 months after that, I was featured in the paper, local newspaper, for building my agency again from scratch. And the rest was history. Standout success story? Man, I got so many. Like, I'll give two quick ones. We had an NDIS client in November, I think it was November 23rd, 2023, last year. You can tell that, you start to remember wins for clients. And we launched statistically the most viral NDIS campaign on Facebook. So on that day, 23rd of November 2023, if you typed up NDIS services on Facebook, their business would pop up. And that's out of like 1,500 media buyers that were advertising NDIS services. NDIS is, I don't even like using the word saturated, but it's quite a competitive space and sphere. So to be able to get that result for them was fantastic. And they had like 3 appointments the next day because our sales guys like called the leads for them and put some appointments in their calendar. So that was a cool result. In terms of revenue, I'll give a more relatable one because sometimes we've done really big numbers and sometimes we've obviously just gotten like small ROI, like a 2x or 1.5x. And sometimes we haven't got that result, but something that's relatable was a restaurant in Essendon, a little kebab shop, truck kebab shop. So, they don't even have much budget. And we had a really cool organic social media strategy. Within like 10 days, we grew their revenue by 10%. So if they're on that, let's just say as an example, they were making, let's just say 25K a month. As an example, they probably weren't even doing that much. We grew them by, an extra 2-3 grand in just 10 days by just doing our organic social media play, right? So that was cool. We helped a celebrity make an extra 100K in 6 to 7 weeks as well. 120K to be precise. Yeah, those are a few quick success stories. How do you stay ahead of the curve? I use AI a lot. I'll probably say I use ChatGPT nearly every day, nearly every morning. In fact, every morning, unless it's like a Sunday and I've forgotten, I check my net worth. So I check how much I have in stocks, I have in crypto, I have in cash, I have in the business, and I just calculate it. And what I'll do is nearly every day as well, I'll look at trends in the marketplace. So I'm already using AI. So once I've gotten into that habit of using AI every day, I'll then naturally send a voice. And I learned this from Ty Lopez. Shout out to Ty Lopez, the GOAT. I'll chuck ChatGPT a voice message saying, hey, what are 3 things that I can do to enhance my business using AI or whatever, or 3 things that I haven't, that people in the marketing sphere don't think about, to blah, 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 blah. And I'm very quick to iterate. One thing that I'll give myself some credit for is I'm a very quick action taker most of the time, right? So, yeah, I think to stay ahead of the curve, AI, using just AI tools to give you feedback on your blind spots is great, but also just taking really quick action, because the quicker the action, the faster you get the feedback and the faster you get the result on what does or doesn't work. Again, testing. I think you have to test a lot and you have to make a lot of mistakes very quickly to just get better. I don't think there's no real secret. There's no real secret to that. You just have to test a lot, work with a lot of people, make all the mistakes that you need to make, and keep getting better and refining the product. In my situation, my product is my team and how we deliver services for our clients. Be prepared to fight. It's a dogfight. You have to be very mentally tough. The marketing sphere is very competitive. You have to be very adaptable and you have to be innovative. You have to be able to productize your thing in a way that isn't commoditized. So for example, if you're selling Facebook ad services, well, everyone and their mom and their dog can do a Facebook ad. What makes your Facebook ad perspective more unique than the other person? And if you understand what I'm saying and you can productize that in the correct way, that makes you look like a one of one. And that does become one of one because, I guess, what's the framing? What's the phrasing? Perception is reality, right? So if I say I'm a multi-millionaire in my mind, I will become a multi-millionaire. If I say I'm a multi-billionaire in my mind, if I genuinely believe that, I'll become a multi-billionaire, right? So perception is reality. So if you're able to create a one-of-one perspective, your brain will start to connect dots that actually help your initial just Facebook ad service become, okay, Facebook ads, but with funnels, and this funnel creates to this process, and this process statistically gets X amount of results on average for 20 clients. That's one thing I could give. So yeah, create a one-of-one, be competitive. Yeah, so look, because that was interesting. I don't think people are very familiar with like the story, but what happened was I initially wanted it to be like a clothing, like fashion brand. So I started getting consulting from people in Canada, people in Europe, and people in South America. And I was getting feedback from really smart people. And I just realized I wasn't thinking big enough. And that I didn't have the money to like afford the kind of clothing product that I wanted to create. So I was like, you know what, let me build the audience first. And then Quasar was born. I got my friends involved. And now Quasar is its own thing. The clothing thing I'll probably leave for another couple of years. It'll be a different business. But yeah, honestly, I just saw an opportunity in the marketplace. After getting all this advice from really smart people internationally, I was like, you know what? Like, let me just use some of the stuff I've learned from them and like create this one-of-one product with, highly specialized videos that are popular in the UK and the US. Like, let's give this a shot. So I rallied all my network together from events and nightclubs and creative scene and corporate. Said, look, this is what I want to do. Would you guys like to be part of this team? And we just ran it. And we got lucky. God blessed us. The first two videos, like one of them now has over 1 million views with no ad spend. And that's God. To be honest, that was not because I'm a genius marketer. But what we did, we started to learn the patterns that help some of those videos go viral. And we started to integrate those patterns into different video formats and started testing different things. And now, we're well respected at an Asia Pacific level. We've recorded in New Zealand, Gold Coast, Melbourne, Sydney, and then we're heading up to Bali in a couple months, which is going to be ridiculous. So, yeah, I think what separates it though is it's not scripted. Like the cringe moments are cringe because they're real. And I think a lot of, particularly, Asia Pacific per se, companies, they're really good at, just like, oh, say it this way and like be funny and that. It's like, we're just good at being us and putting out, what people are really like. But I think it's also far more collaborative. I think we do a very good job of including different kinds of people all across Asia Pacific instead of just, the person that had daddy's money and had the acting opportunity or was part of the right family to get on X TV show. So I also think we've grown extremely quickly. I don't think many people can name other production companies that have garnered over 1 billion views organically without spending money on ads. I think that's a testament to the potential within Asia Pacific and Australia and the creative potential. And I think we've been fortunate to gather that support. But I also think we're a front runner for, a massive positive spiral in Australian media. I think we're just getting started. I don't even think we've touched the surface yet. Yes, we haven't filmed in Bali yet. One moment that I would say was really cool with New Zealand was, we had two of the other owners of Quasar at the time they couldn't come for various reasons. One was stuck in Dubai, one had a passport issue, and then our head videographer, who's a G, shout out to Yadu, he's a boss. He's one of the best videographers, I think, in all of Asia Pacific. So shout out Yadu. He got sick like a day to 2 days before the trip, and it's an international flight to New Zealand. So, there was a point where I was like, is it just going to be me? and one other person that I might have to hire in New Zealand. We're gonna have to manage like 7 cameras and like 50 cast members for 6 episodes in a day. Because we record a lot of episodes in a day. We batch the content together. But just being able to like get to New Zealand and get that done, that was a great feeling, because the New Zealand cast was incredible. Every single one of them was just amazing to deal with. But to have that relief of like, wow, we really got that done. The first real life Tinder swiping in New Zealand, like the first of its kind, the first of these kinds of videos in a different country like Auckland. Is such a blessing to be able to lead that. I don't take that lightly. So that's one moment. Another moment was, and this moment has actually garnered probably over 50 million views on YouTube, because people have cut it up into their shorts and made money off us, but that's a different story. In the viral video where I think it's 13 women versus one male model, the one that's got over 1 million views, there's a scene where, one of the protagonists says to the other protagonist a certain provocative statement, or not provocative, but controversial statement per se, and I say cut, and everyone's screaming, going wild, and my head videographer's like, Dami, like relax, I don't say cut, but like I had this intuition just to say like cut, like at that moment, because it was like dramatic. And at the time, like Merlin and Yaru, Merlin's the head of social media, and one of the other owners at the time was looking at me like, why do you say cut so early? And I was like, I know what I'm doing. And he's like, my head videographer is like to me, dude, you're getting excited. Like, to tell me like, bro, relax. I was like, nah, like I'm good at containing the extreme emotion and still being able to keep professional. I can have this intense energy, but still close the deal, right? And that's practiced. But sometimes not everyone has practiced that switch state. But saying cut in that moment, like in the crowd going wild and everyone just like laughing, celebrating, I had someone cut this, post it on a different YouTube channel. That one YouTube short got 25 million views. So they probably made 10, 15, 20K just off us in that one short. I ended up recruiting that guy because we actually had to take that video down, but that's a different conversation. But that was a real memorable moment. And I just had an intuition that like I had to say cut at that time. And that got like multi-millions of views across the internet. Yeah, so part of it's trends. I forget who says this, but good artists copy, great artists steal, and that's true to an extent. I think you steal and then you innovate. So we look at what's popping on the internet and then we innovate on top of it, and that's worked really well for us. That's one of our main strategies. But other things is we also just think of things that people maybe haven't dared to do. Doing Australians versus Mr. Tate, super risky video. Right? Super risky video. That was one of the hardest videos for me to recruit for. Christians versus LGBTQ+ was another extremely difficult video to recruit for. Extremely difficult. I had to talk to like 5 to 7 pastors for the Christian side, and we had to like talk to the different wonderful people that we had to work with from the trans community. It was such a difficult episode to pull off, but even though the episode hasn't to this date gotten so many views, I think it's a staple culturally for Australia, because I think Australians want to hear opinions from, seemingly opposing sides about certain topics. And I think I got respect, and Kwasar got respect from being able to pull that off, because a lot of people didn't think we could pull it off. People thought we were trying to risk it too far. We had startups that, we were cross-promoting, as promoters in our videos, and they were like, are you trying to get canceled? Like, what are you doing? But I was just like, people want to see these kinds of conversations. So I was like, why not? Why not, Kwasar? Yeah. Well, after Bali, there's a lot we're planning to do, and it's just going to be focused on really... The goal for Kwasar, I'll put it this way. Long term, we want Kwasar to be the content epicenter of Asia Pacific. And that's an audacious thing to state, especially at such a young company and it's bootstrapped as of this moment, 2024. May, hopefully my lawyers or whatever don't get upset that I said that. We're bootstrapped. So as a content epicenter or evolving content epicenter, we want to have as many people involved at different levels as possible. So we're going to be creating different mini businesses in the forms of content under Kwasar. And we're going to get a lot of people involved. We're going to get a lot of people compensated. And we feel like we can really create like a content community around Asia Pacific. That's the easiest way to sum up the goal for Kwasar in the near future. And it's vague, but some things are better shown and not spoken about. Yeah, that's one of the hardest lines to manage. And I'm still learning it. You know, this creative director role that I have, like, I didn't even care about the term creative director, apparently, until like 2 years ago. And people are like, you're a creative director. I'm like, let me look on Google. What's a creative director? I'm like, oh, okay, cool, right? So, you know, I think the business acumen, I'm still learning it very much so, but I had more of that experience than the quote unquote like creative director experience. But I think it's about being firm and highly empathetic. And that's a hard thing to be and to balance. You know, making sure that people are super comfortable on set, but then also after it's recorded, you know, putting out the content in a way that gets the views as well, so we can keep the company going. So it's a dance that I'm still learning, but we've got such a good team, such a good team. We've got team members across Australia, Dubai, Europe, Philippines. Like, we've got such a versatile team with such incredible skill sets, and I think that's allowed us to get better at finding that balance. You know, if people like Merlin that are like, you know what, Dami, I think we should change that. Like, that might, you know, rustle some feathers unnecessarily. I'm like, you know what, you're probably right. And we have other people in the team that are like, dude, this is gonna go viral. Like, let's say it like this. I'm like, makes sense. All right, let's test it. You know, but one thing I've learned is just to be like hands off, right? Like, don't overstep. That's something I've gotten better at. Just not overstepping, letting things sometimes mess up, and being okay with that, and letting that be a learning opportunity for other team members, and also me learning from that as well. That's been something that's really helped the company sustain itself. Otherwise, I'll just, you know, burn myself out. But yeah, work in progress, very much. Typical day in the life. Um, yeah, look, man, I'm not gonna lie, each day's different. I'd like to say that I have a very regimented routine. I wake up at X time and I execute immediately, but it's more like I will change it depending on the season. So right now I'm in a season of aggressive building. So I'll wake up at about 5 a.m. By 5:15, I'm trying to be in the gym, or 5:20, I'm in the gym. I work out for about 45 minutes. I start with usually a light cardio, and then I'm lifting. Then after that, I'm back home trying to eat on the way. I'm trying to download just some positive information from like a YouTube podcast, something like that. And then once I've showered, I'm stuck into it. I'm trying to get admin done by 6:37 a.m. I really want to be facing nearly every hard problem straight away, because, you know, let's just say this: once you get to 30 clients plus, at least with a marketing agency, there's going to be some sort of issue nearly every day. And it's sometimes small. It might be a HR thing. It might be a virtual assistant that's, you know, upset about something. It might be a client that's churned, or a client that's, you know, frustrated that results haven't come in yet. Or maybe it's a client that's had too many results come in and they need to pause things. So yeah, I try to start with usually some sort of physical movement, and then I'm stuck into it. I've gotten better at this. You see, when I was 22 years old, I hired a cognitive behavioral coach, and that's because I actually got my first six-figure job, six-figure salary for a startup. And basically, what I realized was those first 4 or 5 years of just trying to get better at marketing and sales, I kept self-sabotaging. It was like I would get to a level of skill, and then I would just be like, I don't want to close the deal. You know, there's some sort of imposter syndrome or something. So when it comes to, you know, managing myself, I realized that part of managing myself is finding the off button. And I'm not saying that I'm always off and on. It's more that I know that once I've put in X amount of work for a period of time, I know that I can, you know, turn it off for that period of time so I can sleep, or I can turn it off so I can relax with my friends and have dinner. But it's still something I'm working on. You know, it's still a work in progress. I am a work in progress, but I've gotten better at, when it's time to go, I go. And then when it's time to turn it off, I turn it off. Yeah. Well, I used to play basketball at a very high level. Well, not a very high level, but at a high level. I have halted basketball since. So I guess other hobbies, I love to listen to, you know, good podcasts. I like to have dinner. I'm a foodie, former fat kid, right? When I was a kid, I used to be quite chubby. So I still love food. I'll usually go out for a nice dinner once or twice a week. And I love to just hang out with good friends, you know, Friday and Saturday nights, you know, enjoy some of the social life with that. A few other things I like to read. I don't read as much as I used to, which is annoying. Once we hit a certain level of, I guess, flexibility and have other people that are taking over other parts of the company, I will probably designate more time on a daily basis to read more. I love music a lot as well. I'm sure you guys, some of you that are watching this have probably heard of the Kendrick versus Drake beef. I'm all over that. I'm up to date with every diss track so far. So I love music. And yeah, I have other hobbies, but those are a few. Valuable lesson, man. Yeah. I'm even going through one in a way right now. Like, every time there's stagnation or there's a dip, that is honestly the biggest opportunity to prove that you think to prove to yourself that you are who you think you are. I remember one time last year, we hired an operations manager, and after a month, she actually had to leave, partially because her husband was made redundant, and I couldn't afford to give her a higher pay rise. The next month, we lost 10 clients. 10 clients in a month. Multiple thousands of dollars lost. And that was great because basically we hit our record high month when she was hired, because she was a phenomenal operations manager. She knows who she is. Shout out to you. You're an incredible woman. And then we just dropped, right? And it was great because I had to just go hard, like really, really, really hard to make up for that loss and then rebuild it. And yeah, so one of the greatest lessons, I guess, that I've learned in recent is every time things go really bad, that is where you can consolidate your identity. And if you prove to yourself that you are who you think you are, then you can add like another layer on top. And that's a cool thing to do. In the next 5 years, so I'm going to be 29 in the next 5 years. So many things. If I'm going to talk about clientele boosters, I definitely see that being, if God wills it, a multi-9-figure agency, or at least a multi 8-figure agency, but multi 9-figure agency is the goal. The goal for me was I wanted to give marketing 10 years. So I started my agency in mid 2019, and nearly 5 years into the game as of June this year. I wanted to develop mastery with marketing and sales for 10 years, but with Quasar as well. I really want that to be, it's already recognized at an Asia Pacific level. So, Australia, New Zealand, and now Bali. We're heading up to Bali in a few months, which is exciting. But I want Quasar to really be the bridge for creators in Asia Pacific, to really put themselves out there on the international map. So there's a lot of plays for Quasar, some that I can't discuss publicly, but there's things that Quasar will be doing in the next 5 years that I think will really change the creative scene in Australia and Asia Pacific. But there are some personal ventures that I want to step into. Once we cross probably 8 figures in revenue, hopefully by the time I'm 25, 26 years old latest, God willing, with the agency, I would like to get into private equity. So start buying up smaller businesses and rolling them up and building them under clientele boosters, or just building them under another corp. But there's other industries that I want to really explore. And you'll see that in due time. But I really just want to focus on mastering marketing and sales. I want to grow our agency to $1 million, $2 million a month. And we're nowhere near that right now. Right now, we're still gunning for our first 7 figures in revenue this year, if God wills it. We've got some ways to go to get to that level. But the next 5 years is going to be exciting. A lot of lessons going to be learned, a lot of hardships, but I'm ready for it. I'm built for it. And if God's my protection, then I'll be fine.